Yeah, come on. What's going on? Man ain't got an intro yet still. I'm working on it. I promise people what is going on. We are live. It is Monday night. It is the 13th of December. You know what it is. It is Dan Lewis Live. Brought to you by the Madman Ting Think Become. It's the brand I'm making. It's not really a brand, bruv. It's just me on the view. You know what I mean? But while you are here, do please check out my website, thinkbecome.uk, where I will be posting all of my content, all of my cool wickedness, all of that stuff. It'll all be there. All my old videos are there. Check them out. Man doing a couple interviews and that. The big man, John Max there. Don't know, we got a little ting with JC too. But real talk, the most important stuff is the stuff I do with grassroots people, organizers, union reps, people out in the communities making a change in the world, which is why I bring you Dan Lewis Live. I am here to I just want to spread the good news about what people are doing to change this world, make it a better place. Also, throw a couple vibes there. Throw a couple vibes on the thing and let the Tories know to get the blood clot out of our nation. You know what I mean? Because we don't want them here. We don't like them. We don't need them. It is what it is. You guys know what it is when it comes to the comments, though. Make sure you hit me up. I was loving the interaction last week. First show, a big thing for me, man's doing it on my own. So, there's a lot of vibes, a lot of preparation that it takes to do this on my own. And I've been putting a lot of work in. So if you are able to, please do hit me up on PayPal. It is paypal.me. I'm typing it as we speak. Think Become, and whack me a couple of quid if you enjoy the ting. If you do appreciate the show, if you like what's going on, it's in the comments on Facebook and YouTube, and it's in the replies on the tweet that's gone out with this video. Check it out. Hit me up if you can. If not, no worries. I know times are hard for people, but today, oh my days, come on, we've got a lot going on. The government have been busy in hiding last week, have they not? These guys, they love to hide, innit? Do you remember when Boris hid in a fridge? Man hid in a fridge, bruv. Oh my days, come on. First of all, though, before we get into things, let me give a shout out, right? Let me give a shout out. The great people who delivered our mail and care packages and all the rest up and down the country throughout the pandemic. Every single day they were out there, and they are the smiles that we saw in the morning. Today is their day. It is the postal workers. Big up the posties. Big up everyone from the mail distribution centers to the post offices all over the thing. They were all providing us with keeping us connected and providing us with our mail and our parcels. Big up all of you, man. Big up the posties. If you haven't already, head on over to the CWU Twitter page, Facebook page, all of them thing there, and check out their new video. My man Ian Taylor's on there. I love Ian Taylor. That guy, do you know what? Yeah, let me say a little something for Ian. Yeah, I met him when I first became a rep. Doing a lot of work within the BAME, organizing of the Communication Workers Union. And my man's got time for everyone. Also, he supplied the food that night. Him and his missus supplied the food that night, and it was banging, bro. But them guys, they're good people. Enough respect to all of the posties. Big up all of them. Big up the CW. Don't know. Now, let's get to what's going on in the world. It has been a weekend of further revelations from Whitehall as an eighth party has come to light. Like, I'm sure there were way more than 8 parties in Parliament, in Whitehall, Parliament, 10 Downing Street, whatever, last year. By the sounds of it, what we're hearing from Byline Times, they've been releasing a lot of news on this. I know the mainstream like to act like it's them, but come on, Byline's been on this thing. Big up the people at Byline Times. And they even released, like, where there was conversations between some staffers in Parliament that were talking about actually every Friday was a social where they would go to Downing Street to have a little drink and maybe some pizza or something. Bruh, real talk, man. Listen. Them lot took the piss. They need to get out of here. Now, a conversation I've been having with a lot of people, if you follow me on TikTok, you'll know what's going on with this conversation. But if Boris has got to go, who's going to replace him? Who's going to replace Boris, right? So it's another Tory. Now, some people said to me, well, we might get a better one. There's no better Tory. You don't get a good Tory. You don't get a better one. That's like saying, well, here's a piece of shit. We're going to get rid of the shit, and we're going to give you some new shit with icing on it. Nah, fam. If I bite into it, I'm still going to eat shit. You know what I'm saying? You can't coat it with icing or cover it in glitter. You ain't going to get a better piece of shit. So I don't want another Tory. But then people are saying, well, what's the option then? Do we go to a general election? Have we got many options out there at the moment? Like, I don't know. If people want to vote for other parties, then go do that. You know what I'm saying? But right now, I think the real change, because I don't think that people have a lot of faith in many politicians right now. I think the real answer is to be looking in our communities, looking around us, looking at the people who are changing things in our communities, who have got a voice in our communities, who are able to make change. Do you know who your local councillors are? Because a lot of people don't even know who their local councillors are. Do you not think they should be the community leaders? Do you not think they should be more active in the stuff that's going on in your community? And if you've got people like that who are like that as councillors, then God bless them, all of them ting. You know what I mean? Inshallah, they carry on their ting, bruv. That's what I'm saying, right? But if you haven't, start thinking about how you change up them people. You get me? Start thinking about how we start to actually make our communities better places. Let's start to build the leaders within our own circles. Let's start to raise up the people around us instead of relying on people that were, you know, basically given the hand of Lord Eaton to go and rule our country. Let's start making sure that working class people that work in Tesco's, that were out delivering the mail during the pandemic. Big up Hugh, man. Hughie from Scotland, near Glasgow. I forget the constituency. He was a postie. He went to Parliament and he delivered. He delivered, bruv. Obviously, man's not there now, but, you know, I'm sure he'll come back fighting. Man's not one to give up. But I definitely think we need people to start looking in their own communities for the leaders of our future. Start to build up the people around you. Start to organize in your communities and change the world around us from the ground up. Because if we ain't doing it from our own communities, how are we going to do it when we get to Whitehall? How are we going to do it when we get to Westminster? And that's what we need to start seeing now. Back to Alexander the Professor. I don't know that guy's name. I just know it's Alexander the Professor. But Boris the Bumhole Johnson. Now, his government have spent the week last week in hiding to then come out and tell us all to get another jab. The scruffy eater mess recorded a video where he attempted to be prime ministerial. Imagine being such a colossal wank stain, man. The guy, honestly, he thinks he can come out here, talk to us, tell us what to do, bruv. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying not to go and listen to the NHS, because that's what the NHS and the doctors are saying right now. Trust me, go and do that thing, you know what I mean? But real talk, when this guy comes out here trying to act prime ministerial, telling me what to do, bruv, do you not think it's going to switch up a few people's attitudes? Do you think they're not going to listen to you, bruv? Do you not think you're making matters worse by going out here trying to tell people what to do after you weren't even doing the damn thing you were saying that everyone had to do, bruv? It's a bit mad. He's creating the massive problems that we've got in society at the moment. This comes a little bit onto one of the articles we've got actually from Byline Times today, where they've been talking to Shami Chakrabarti. But before we jump to that one, let's just carry on with what happened last week. Now, they pushed through the borders bill, the nationalities and borders bill. And that could have put people like me at risk. My mum was right, bro. My mum was right. They'll send us away, bruv. They will send us away. Now, the thing is, though, there's so many people already at risk. The hostile environment is already duppying up the place. You're seeing what happened in Glasgow last year or earlier this year. You're seeing what's happening on the streets where Priti Patel's coming on in a police uniform, watching people get deported and them thing there, man. Don't piss me off. Now, they're pushing through the policing bill as well. And that basically removes our right to protest and increase police powers to inflict pain on so many communities. Again, we're going to cover a little more about this in the articles we're talking about today, but it's just a painful, horrible state of affairs, my G. Now, police powers. Our first piece is coming straight out of Bristol with the Canary, who has covered this story, which is the toppling of Edward Colston statue since it happened last June. Man ain't got a graphic today. The Photoshop thing didn't work, so allow me, but we're going to get straight into it. If you want it, check it out. It's in the Canary. It's about the Colston 4. Let's just shout out to the people that are being taken to court. Rianne Graham, Milo Ponsford, and Jake Skews and Sage Willoughby. Now, big up you four, yeah. Don't know you're doing your thing. You're going to court and you're going to fight this case. The proceedings began today And support was out in numbers for these people. I rate the Canary for covering this story because the mainstream media seem to kind of have a bit of a blank out on it. I haven't really seen much about it. There's a couple little articles out there, but the Canary are putting it at the top of their page. So big up them. Also big up man like Banksy, who has been selling t-shirts across Bristol to raise money for the legal fees. But let's have a talk about public spaces and the statues that look over us. We'll give a little bit of history. Edward Colston, obviously, there is the history that my guy was, financed massively out of the slave trade. And for many, many years, people have been campaigning to take that statue down. People have done petitions. They've gone to the council. They've gone to the local authorities. And one of the things that he did is he had a large amount of money or shares in the Royal African Company, which basically was money coming out of slavery. Big up the Colston 4 for actually taking action on this. And a lot of the time we see protests in a lot of communities where people protest, but they don't actually know the history of what's going on. I feel like this has led to some education for people, education about public spaces, the spaces in which we stand, the spaces in which we use to go shopping, to go and meet friends and all of that. What's the history behind it? Here in Liverpool, where I live, there are street names that are named after slave traders. We live on streets that are named after slave traders. That's how ancestors were traded by these people. Do you feel how there's some kind of sense of ownership, how capitalism continues to win against the people in our everyday lives without us even knowing it? It's a bit mad. When the Canary talked a little bit about how things have happened since that statue was taken down. Some might say that the statue taken down was a bad moment for society. Others, like myself, would say it was a brilliant moment where people were taking control of the spaces in their communities. I definitely think that these guys brought about a moment for a lot of people to learn about the history and also think about the statues. There's people in Cambridge University, who have been campaigning about statues or busts that are up on the walls and around the campus, and they're not getting anywhere because there's people who have more money than them that are telling them that they're wrong, that these things should stay there. I think it was a brilliant piece from the Canary, just making sure that everyone knows about it. But also back in June, Eliza Egret wrote, the toppling of the statue came after years of campaigning and protest by countering Colston and its supporters. The group had previously achieved a number of significant concessions, including the decision by Bristol Music Trust to change the name of the Colston Hall. And after the events of June 2020, a number of buildings and landmarks around Bristol named after the slave trader finally bowed under pressure to change their names. So the message coming out of this one for me, and I hope for you guys, is that the power of the people can win. It doesn't matter whether you're campaigning to take the name of a slave trader away from buildings in your community, or if we look over to the Stop Cambo campaigns up in Scotland, where they're trying to stop the oil fields and get Shell to take themselves out of the sea up there and taking oil out of the sea. You know, that is down to people power. And I massively believe and recommend everyone should be looking at how they can get involved in some kind of people-powered campaigns. Linking it exactly back to what I was saying, where we need more of people like us standing for positions of power and not relying on people who feel that they've got the hand of the Lord Eaton to bless them for their prime ministerial roles. Now over to Byline Times. It's a deep one, bro. Honestly, this is deep, right? It's Hardeep Mataru has been speaking to Shami Chakrabarti. Now, Shami is the director of Liberty and a Labour peer, and they've been talking about the far-right playbook being followed by this government. Let's be honest, this government is a fascist government. I'm going to say it again because a lot of people don't like it. We are under a fascist government, and they are fast marching into a state of affairs that we really do not want to be in. Chakrabarti believes that the government is following the tactics of a far-right ideologue, former Donald Trump, and also his strategist and Cambridge Analytica founder Steve Bannon. She's saying that they're modeling legislation on anti-terror laws, but now for protests. Now, I can't disagree with her on that. And I think she's definitely on the money when she's talking about divide and conquer, pitting communities against each other, saying that it's the migrant over there who are taking your crumbs when really it's the billionaire who's taking the biscuits. Let's be honest about this thing, right? How many times have we seen arguments in the street? Working class people pointing the finger at other working class people for doing absolutely nothing wrong. Meanwhile, their bosses and the billionaires and the government they're not even hiding. They're walking up behind them, slapping them on the bum and ripping their wallet out and waving at them as they run down the street. Look at the situation right now where we're at, where people are pissed off about the parties, but they're not as pissed off about the fact that the government stole money from us during the pandemic, the fact that the government just gave money to their friends during the pandemic. Are you mad, my guy? Seriously. It is unbelievable. I think Shami Chakrabarti is spot on in this article again. She says that you demonize dissent, you crush it, you demonize insurgents from within or without. So whether it's so-called migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers from without, you demonize them because you promised to take back control of our borders. And you demonize dissenters from within. It's the classic far-right playbook, and it is terrifying. And people want to be very polite about it. But it is thoroughly chilling. Shami's just a poet with the words, honestly. She said that there are also concerns around a new measure in the bill which would allow the Home Secretary to amend the definition of disruption in the legislation by Henry VIII's powers. It's mad. There's a danger that a lot of political commentators in particular are behaving more like drama critics or sports pundits who landed a punch at PMQs, as opposed to analyzing these deeper trends and fundamental shifts. Let's have a look at this now. Let's go into detail on what Shami's saying here, because this is very, very important. Everyone wants a retweet. Everyone wants to have the quickest take on what's going on in Parliament. But what actually is that doing to people, in working class communities? What actually is that doing to people's mental health, what they're deciding to do? One of the things I think I said to you guys last week is that we live in a world where we go to the doctor because of our mental health, and the doctor sends us to a therapist if we can get one. We get on a 6-week waiting list. We get to the therapist, and the therapist tells us how to deal with this shit world, when really what we should be doing is trying to fix the shit world so that people aren't having mental health problems. People are going to work and they're struggling in work and they're getting physical health problems. They're going to the doctor about the physical health problems, and the doctor's sending them on to a physiotherapist who's then teaching them how to just deal with the physical pressures on them in their day-to-day lives, in the workplace, the pollution in the air, all these different things that we're having to just kind of deal with rather than actually fix. It's amazing that we live in a world where we have to change for the world around us rather than the world change for us. We are the natural beings, yet pollution has more control over our lives than we have over stopping the pollution. Now, when we talk about things like the Green New Deal or the Green Industrial Revolution, and we talk about green new jobs and we talk about changing our environments, this isn't just about solar panels. This is about actually changing the world. What's this got to do with policing, Dan? Well, I'm telling you what it's got to do when I talk about the policing bill. It's talking about how they can then demonize us for actually wanting to stand up and change the world. Because when the world ain't working for you, what do? You stand up and fight. We organize, we unionize. But right now, they're stopping us from doing that. And when they start to stop you from doing that, fascism, my friends. Honestly, it is a scary situation, and we need to be very conscious of what's going on. Back to what I was saying about the media from Shami's comments. When she talks about the media, they're not talking about these effects. They're not talking about the effects that what Boris Johnson has said in Parliament could have, or a bill that's gone through under his government could have effects on communities and have effects on people's lives. And when they want to turn around and they want to fight against it, they can't. The media are not looking that far. They're looking at the here and now and how many retweets they can get, what award they can get at the end of the year to say that they covered that story, that they had the quickest take, that they were the quickest one to be able to predict what's going to happen next in Parliament. I don't care what's going to happen next in Parliament. I care about where the next meal is going to come from for the family that can't afford to eat. I care about how people are going to afford to pay the rent when the rent's going up, but the wages ain't going up. I care about the fact that people can't afford to heat their houses in the winter when it's getting colder and colder because of the environmental issues caused by the pollution that this government are doing jack about. That's why I get angry about these things. And I think Shami's spot on. And we need to be looking away from the mainstream media pundits and look more to the people in Byline Times, the Canary, all the other different organizations that are independent media. Support the damn thing. Honestly, we need to be looking in that direction. Stop sharing articles from the Mirror and the Guardian and the Independent and all of them, rest of them. I know you lot don't share articles from the scum, so it's okay. But real talk, man. Stop looking at the political punditry of the now and start looking at the political effects of what's going to happen to our communities in the future. That's the way I see it. Now, they're talking about other things. There's going to be effects on Gypsy Roma communities. We look at where the people who actually, talking of the media, people were actually put themselves in a position where they were trying to block the distribution of newspapers. Those newspapers are the same newspapers who do not give a fuck about you or me, my friend. And those people who put themselves in that position to block those newspapers was actually a part of the triggering for Priti Patel to put this policing bill in place. Now, if we are unable to block the distribution of lies into our communities, we are unable to block the distribution of hate into our communities, and the government are protecting them so that they can do so. Fascism, my friend. Fascism, my friends. Now, I want to go into a lot of detail on this article. Shami Chakrabarti, as like I said before, poetically spoken about this fall into fascism, what's happening with the policing bill, and I think it's just important that everyone has a read of this. So when you do go on to Byline, check it out. It is from last week. I just wanted to bring it up this week because I thought with all of the noise around what was going on in Whitehall, around the parties and stuff, talking about these things a little bit later is definitely very important. The last line I just want to pick up from, or last two lines I just want to pick up from Shami there. She was talking to her. She said, in the meantime, we've got catastrophic pandemic management with a state that's perfectly prepared to waste taxes and spend money as long as their mates benefit from the contracts. It's very reminiscent of previous periods in history with this populist far-right politics. We've got every potential sphere of civil society and democratic life under challenge from this government, which uses phrases such as parliamentary sovereignty. And what they really mean is executive domination. Because as we learned from their behavior in 2019, when they shut down parliament illegally, parliamentary sovereignty is not really on their minds. This is the rise of the super executive, which, if I might add, is a point that has come up today in politics for me, is that running the country is not like running a business. Running the country is about how you care for people. Running a business is basically a capitalist product. However, running a cooperative organization is a totally different affair. And I believe that running the country, or being the prime minister and in government, we should be looking at how we look after everyone, how we make sure everyone has a fair fight at this world, a fair chance in this world. Shami said, we've got some tough fights ahead. She said, that's a reason for pulling together, putting other differences aside to work across all parties. And if we don't defend our rights and freedoms, we will have nothing left with which to fight. Big up Shami Chakrabarti, big up Byline Times. Check them out. Make sure you check out their website. They are big. Listen, guys, if you're enjoying the commentary, if you're enjoying what I've got to say, please do hit me up on PayPal. It's in the comments. On Twitter, it's in a reply to this post, but also it's in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, Sally. I see you out there. Definitely should be about leveling up and not pushing down. I totally agree with you. Treating the symptoms, not the cause. You are spot on. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Thanks so much, you guys. Definitely hit me up in the comments. I'm always looking out for what you guys have got to say. I love your feedback, man. Jump on me on Twitter, TikTok, wherever. They're all on my website, thinkbecome.uk. Now, moving on with the stories, we are going over to Tim Lazard at Union News. I love this guy. Man works so hard. We're talking about key NHS workers that are voting for or voted for a strike over low pay and exploitation. Man's getting come bubbled with my words there, you know. Now, hundreds of key NHS workers employed by the giant outsourcing company Serco have voted for industrial action across the Barts Health NHS Trust. This is about low pay and exploitation, something we are seeing time and time again across workplaces in the UK. Now, 97% voted in favor of the industrial action. So they have a very, very, very clear mandate against the employer to take strike action. Now, unless there's an agreement on the paying conditions, the strikes will start to happen in January 2022. Now, Serco Group had a turnover of 3.9 billion last year, but they're only offering 1%. A 1% pay rise. Now, the workforce that we're talking about here are mainly Black, Asian, and ethnic minority or people of color. And this is cleaners, porters, who are paid 15% than other NHS staff. Again, another story that we hear so often in the NHS, where there are privatized parts of the system and there are large workforces that are largely people of color. They are getting underpaid, exploited, and not getting a fair pay rise, right? I don't think I need to remind the majority of you that it was the cleaners that kept the hospitals clean during the pandemic. It was the cleaners that went in after people had been operated at night or in between shifts. They will be going in and out, making sure that it is clean to the highest specification so that our NHS could continue to operate at a world-class level. These guys deserve a pay rise just as much as anyone else. And they deserve a hell of a lot more than 1%. Now, Unite, big up Unite. Sharon Graham's doing bits in Unite at the moment. Big up Sharon. I'm a big supporter of what she's doing at the moment as the General Secretary of Unite the Union. She said it's an insult to the workers who risked their lives at the height of the pandemic and continue to do so. Now, Serco and Barts have the opportunity to reach an agreement with Unite and prevent the strike action in the new year. Sharon has said it's time to take note of the strength of feeling of these NHS workers who are being left in limbo as Barts and Serco prevaricate and pass the buck on their demands of a decent wage. Unite will be unwavering in our support of these union members, and unless Barts and Serco put an end to their low pay and exploitation, there will be strike action in January. For the boom boom, you hear me now? She's spoken. Come on, Sharon. Love the work you're doing. Big up. And I don't disagree with the workers for being fed up. They're saying that there's been cases of bullying and exploitation, and they're fighting back. They are coming back against the company. There's issues with the disciplinary policies. There's issues with the sickness policies. I remember over here in Liverpool, we had a lot of the cleaners and the general worker staff. They were going out on strike on similar issues. At one point, there was a member of staff who died while on sick pay, and she was getting treated in the hospital that she used to clean, and she couldn't get sick pay. It was unbelievable, horrible story, and that's the way these privatized companies work. Now, the regional officer, Tabusam Ahmed, said that Barts Health NHS Trust need to bring these workers employed by Serco, not the NHS, back in-house. They've had enough of poverty pay and intimidation. Serco workers are exposed to the same risks as NHS employed staff, but they are paid much less and treated disgracefully. I think it is absolutely fantastic to see this organizing of workers. It is an absolute, it's abhorrent, it's an abomination that anyone out there is going to treat these workers like this. This is why last week I got in I got so angry and annoyed about the fact that, you know, the minimum wage is so low and there's still fights going on to raise the minimum wage. Yet, meanwhile, the government are doing jack about it. And this brings me back to my earlier point as we come to an end on the show, where I said that basically, when we look at what we need to be doing in our communities and start doing things ourselves and start organizing around people and start making the world a better place in our own little communities, in our own worlds, this is exactly what these people are doing. They're organizing in their workplace and they're taking on the company. The government ain't going to do nothing for us. We currently have a fascist government. I'm not saying don't fight the government, but when the government aren't going to do the small things for you and when they are making big changes to the rights you have, you need to start making your own changes in the world. We need to start seeing people organize in the workplace as well as their own communities. If you've got problems in the workplace, don't think, oh, well, that's them, it's not me. Because if it comes to you, who's going to be by your side? Those people there. Now, the CWU, we started the show talking about the CWU and the solidarity they get from people across the UK on National Postal Workers Day and all around the year. The CW, to be fair to them, they do a fantastic job of showing solidarity with other unions when they're on strike. The UCU right now, they've got a strong relationship with them and they're showing solidarity. When GMB went out on strike, a lot of people showed solidarity with them. And that's what we do. We support the other workers in their struggle. We support other working class people in their struggle. We find ways of making sure that everyone is supported, whether it's making a butty for them while they're on strike, whether it's maybe just taking a stand in your workplace because you don't agree with what's going on to a group of people. We all come together, we show each other solidarity, and we start to change the world. There's so many opportunities for people to do this, and I'm here basically to big up the organizations that do these things. So definitely do join a union, join a renters union. Make sure that you're involved in your community. Make sure that you're making the changes that you can do. Big up all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Dan Lewis live, thinkbecome.uk. Check out my website where we've got so much old footage from old videos that I've been working on, and I'm going to be uploading so much more new content. I'm going to try and keep this show going every day. There's a lot going on in my world at the moment, but I felt if I just didn't get started, then I'd never get it going. So here we are, we're live. It's Dan Lewis. If you can pop a donation into my PayPal, it's in the comments. And it's in a reply tweet to this tweet if you're watching on Twitter. Make sure you guys head on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, download, give me a like, give me a comment. Big up Sally for just taking over the comments there. I can't see them all. There's bears, but big up you. Big up everyone who's locked in today. Peace and love. Yeah, done now.